Ladies and gentlemen, so thank you for joining us in this particular special webinar that Keynote Learning is organizing tonight. This is basically a transitioning dialogue with a teacher, a parent, and a student to really help us understand or help everyone, help all parents, students alike in this whole transitioning journey from primary 6 to secondary 1. So just hold on for a moment as we wait for some other participants to slowly stream in. We'll likely start the session probably in a couple of minutes. Okay. Okay, so good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to Keynote Learning's dialogue for this evening for the transitioning of students between primary 6 and secondary 1. All right, so just a quick brief introduction of the panels that we have for tonight that will share, different aspects of this particular experience. First of which would be Ms. Ho Ying. So Ms. Ho is actually the English lead for Keynote Learning. So she teaches basically the English language all the way from specializing in primary school students all the way up to secondary school Sec 4 students as well. Right. Secondly, we have Mr. Junius So. So Junius has actually been a friend of ours for quite a long time, and he has had the pleasure of actually raising two wonderful children, a boy and a girl, both transitioning between, of course, from primary school to secondary school. Right. And lastly, we have Miss Suen. who's currently a Nyan Poly student, but I think of all of us here, she's the most recent when it comes to this actual experience of the transitioning from primary school to secondary school. So, over the past few weeks, we've gathered quite a bit of questions from parents, asking us during this tricky period, things like, how can we help ease our children through this particular transition? What are some of the problems? What are some common problems that children face with this particular transition? And how can we as parents really help them through this particular journey? So tonight, once again, very thankful for you guys to join us this evening. Should you guys have any question throughout this entire dialogue or talk, you can feel free to put them inside the Q&A box at the bottom. So I will be monitoring the Q&A box. So once if I find any questions that are pertaining to each different individual of the panel, I will direct the questions accordingly to them. Right. So you can also feel free to actually check with us the kind if you want to chip in on some of the things we're talking about, you can also feel free to put it in the chat. All right. Okay. So without further ado, let me bring up my list. Okay. Who shall we go first? Perhaps Sue-Ann, if it's okay with you.
Okay.
So one of the parents actually wrote in asking us a very specific question about this whole transition. And from what I understand from you is that you actually transitioned from a girls' school in primary school to actually a co-ed school in secondary school, right?
Yes.
Perhaps can you run us through what are some of the problems or some challenges that you actually faced right in the beginning? Because I imagine this might be a little bit different.
Yeah, so for me, I was from an all-girls school in primary school, and then when I moved over to secondary school, it was a really big change in environment because first of all, I have to interact with boys in that period of time, everyone's hitting puberty, and I was wondering, it won't be so bad, there'll be boys. And then surprisingly, my class, we had 28 girls and only 12 boys. So for me, the girls helped me to integrate better into the class because we only had that few boys that I can only interact with. So really, my friends helped me a lot through that process. And initially, it was quite terrifying for me because the shift in environment from an all-girls school to co-ed school was really different, right? I just stuck close to my group of female friends, and then they just slowly introduced me to boys. And from there, I meet friends with males and females. Yeah, it was a very interesting change, for me.
Right.
Yeah.
So actually, juniors, you had a boy and a girl, right? So both of them transitioned from primary school to secondary school. Do you, personally for you, was there any difference between them?
Well, they've been in co-ed school since primary because my wife came from all-girls school. So she want them to be in co-ed school at the beginning with that kind of thing. Yeah, so we don't have that concern at all. Yeah.
Right.
So,
but for your girl, Lynn, for Lynn, right, when she transitioned from primary school to secondary school, was the experience similar compared to your boy?
Also, maybe usually I'll try to start by maybe for those parents online at this moment, they must be. I think they are now trying to look out for which secondary school, right? So the biggest challenge is they'll have a book. And they just have the school run in alphabetical order. And you start flipping it, you get lost, you see. So I would encourage parents to use a very more systematic way because it depends on a child. My kids are average students. So you got to put in certain things like, okay, this is my point, and this is how far the school is from my house, right? Journey is also matter, right? And also what are the CCA. I can't remember 3 points. The points, because initially we're flipping like hell, we just do not know how to decide. So we got to go through a systematic way. For Lynn, it's a lot easier. She knows what she wanted, and then she wanted to go to that school because of that CCA. And fortunately, her points met. So she's able to go to that particular school. For my son, he doesn't know what he wanted, so we have to really help him in a very systematic way, and his points are limited also. So that's where we have to do a systematic way. These are the school that fits your point, and then these are the school that's close to you. Then you already narrow to less than 10 or so already. Then you start ranking them in terms of CCA or whatever, and then things are clearer. You see, when you have limited choices, it's a lot easier. Okay, I'm not okay. So that's how we did that, because if not, we just keep flipping from alphabetical order here and there. We just do not know what to do. Also, that's something I may want to advise the parents.
Right. I think that's good advice.
Okay. Then, as far as I know, I do not really know what to prepare them, because I'm excited about it, because I have a wonderful secondary school day also. So I just encourage them what is it that they like. Mostly is from the CCA part of things. Yeah, what is it that they want to do, and then choose the school. Open house is very important. Unfortunately, during COVID, you don't have a chance. It's like buying a new house. You go to school, you start walking around, you see the environment, and then you have students greeting you. Yeah,
the school culture.
Yeah, culture, correct. So you should feel the vibe from the school, and let the kid see you like that. Unfortunately, now you have to do it in a virtual manner. Yeah, so now it's very important. Try to make the effort with your kids. Of course, you can't run so many in half a day, or usually on a Saturday. Choose those top few that you have selected, and just go with the kids to help them choose the school that you want.
So you physically go with the kids to all the different open house
school, because within a Saturday you can't really get much school to so we physically run around to help them for both of them. Yeah. Okay.
So Ms. Ho, so I think Junior's mentioned something along the lines of narrowing down the schools that you can choose because of due to the points that you've gotten, right? So I mean, during that time they were still using the old PSLE scores. So currently it's the AL1s, AL2s, etc. Right? So having said that, though, a very practical question that some parents might ask would be, say I'm blessed with choices, the kinds of school that I can choose. How should I then make a choice? Should I just go for the absolute best school I can go to? Best, I quote best because government tells us all schools are the same, right? All schools are good schools. In addition to that, but why I quote best is because in terms of relative scores that you take to get in, should they actually just choose using that metric?
I think maybe, like what you said, best is, not, I would kind of think that there's probably no best school, but it's probably the most suitable school for your child. So for instance, I think a few things you can take into account actually in secondary school will really be your CCA, because if you have a certain score, I think the schools that you want to choose are probably you would have managed to narrow down to your choices. So from those choices, you probably want to think of CCA, because I think CCA tends to be quite an interesting component, and it is a huge aspect of secondary school life. I don't know whether Suen will agree with me. Like CCA tends to, I think because of COVID, it isn't really as highlighted these few years, like these last 2 years. But previously, CCA tend to play a huge role in secondary school life. So I would think that after you have narrowed down to those choices, you will kind of look through the CCAs and see whether there's one or two that really catches your eye, because you have to stick with the CCA for a good 4 years, right? So I think that is definitely one possibility, and of course location matters. Unless you are super lucky, your parents will fetch you to school every single day. Otherwise, I think the time spent on traveling can be quite draining as well. So that is definitely another consideration.
Right. So this one mentioned CCA. So Suen, I have a question.
Yes.
Did you have a CCA in primary school?
I actually don't have a CCA in primary school.
Okay.
Yeah, so when I entered secondary school, it was, oh no, wait, in primary school, I joined basketball for like 2 years and then I dropped out to focus on PSLE. And then when I entered secondary school, it was a shift also. So they told me, yep, it's compulsory to have CCA. Yeah, but for me, right, I actually changed to CCA halfway through my secondary school days. Yeah, so in lower secondary, I took basketball and then I didn't quite like it. And then I changed to journalism. So it was a huge change of CCA. And it was fine for me because, okay, I know a lot of people would say like what Ms. Ho mentioned just now, that, you have to stick through 4 years in that particular CCA. But for me, I feel like if you really, really dislike your CCA, then you can feel free, go ahead and try and expose yourself to a different CCA that you would enjoy better or you'd be more interested in.
Just to help the audience fill in the blank, because it might not make sense to all audiences here, why is it better to see through your CCA for the whole 4 years?
Ms. Ho, you want to explain that? Why would you be
I would think the system has changed. In the past, they actually didn't even allow changing of CCAs. Changing of CCA was like a really difficult thing. You had to go through a lot of hoops. You have to jump through hoops after hoop, because I was a MOE teacher. And then when somebody in my form class says they want to change CCA, wow, it's a very tough thing, because then I have to say, okay, you have to first ask your parents to write in. Okay, and then we have to ask the HOD, whether this can be allowed. So there are so many hoops to jump through that ultimately many students just give up. They're like, okay, then never mind, But I think now the school system is kind of becoming a little more humane. So they do kind of allow students to change, but I don't think you can change every single year either. That's not entertained also. You can probably just make, I think, one change, or sometimes if you're super lucky, you have some very fantastic reason that make you maybe give you 2 changes maximum in those 4 years. Because there used to be the CCA point system, right? So if you stick with your CCA for the entirety of 4 years, you score better CCA points. So that will help in your enrollment for JC, for poly, So that's the reason why. So if you change midway, sometimes some of the score may have to be dropped for your previous CCAs and so. But this kind of system keeps changing. So it depends on what MOE is up to in the most recent years. Yeah.
Royston, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I just have 2 points to add. First point is about the point system. Most parents would want their kids to fit as close as possible to the cutoff points from the school, right? So for me, I leave it to my children, and there's always a Chinese saying that you rather be a 鸡头 than a 凤尾 So you rather be a cockroach head than a tail. So if it sounds, I hope it doesn't sound cruel, but there's a true saying that. So because in a school where if all of us are at that high grade, the competition is really high. You see, sometimes everyone is aiming for that leadership in CCA. Right. If your kid is there and academically she's fine, or she or she is fine, definitely they'll be chosen to be leaders. Right. So I'm not seeing CCA from point level, but rather from a leadership, that they start young to inculcate that kind of having that opportunity to have leadership at that age, which fortunately both my kids have that chance to say. And many times as parents, I think it's good to encourage them. Many times they're very scared to make the first step forward. There's going to be election coming. I really not sure should I. So I need to ask them one question. You ask yourself, you ask the kids, are you going to regret if you don't try, you see? If you try and you don't get it, so be it. But are you going to regret that you don't even try and don't even know? And that how gets Lynn to sign up and become the student leader for something that she liked. The show choir, right? You know that, right?
Yep.
Really great. So this is something that as parents, I think, don't just see it as a point. See it as a place that you can encourage your kids to bring up their leaderships and all those things. There's something to share.
Right. So, I mean, of course, right, when we go to school, it's not just about getting that A1 in your English, math, and sciences, right? So, of course, as a whole, we do wish for our children to actually be developed holistically. Of course, the whole softer skills side of things as well. Okay. So, that was a nice discussion. Moving on, there was, so one of the most commonly asked questions, okay, for parents is that there is a dramatic change in the number of subjects, okay, that's being, okay, offered is the wrong word, that students have to take, right, from English, math, science, and mother tongue to now the inclusion of, literature, social studies, geography, history, art and craft, etc., etc. So, Ms. Ho, in your experience, do students tend to struggle with this dramatic change in the number of subjects that's required for them to study in the first year at least?
I would think a majority of them will feel the change. That means it's a huge number of subjects, and especially subjects that they're unfamiliar with. For example, literature, it tends to be one of the tough ones. Yeah, unless, of course, in lower secondary, some schools are very interesting. They make their literature syllabus actually very palatable, very simple, yeah, and they don't really need the students, to score extremely well in order to hit a distinction. So there are also schools that go, let's say, in a very systematic, almost like O-level style in lower sec. So for those students, they meet a big problem, I would say, for new subjects like literature. Yeah. And then on the other hand, even the old subjects like EMS yeah, and mother tongue may be quite a stretch too, because the style is so different. Like English, for example, there's all the MCQs for them, in English. But when they go to secondary school, there's zero MCQ. And the whole paper structure is different. So they end up feeling, okay, everything is open-ended. In fact, for parents who may not have seen the papers yet, you can just go to Popular and get the 10-year series for O-levels. You'll realize that all Sec 1s and 2s, they go through the same style of exam for English. Generally, there's zero MCQ, and then they do Compre open-ended for the entire paper 2. The entire paper 2 is just Compre open-ended. Yeah, so they can't run, from this most dreaded section. Yeah, so in a sense, things do become harder, I would say. Yeah, and even situational writing, used to be such a small section, of just about 15 marks. For sit writing, and then they just have to write a very short half a page and they can score close to full marks. But in secondary school, the situational writing becomes exactly the same weighting as the compo. Yeah, which means that it's equally as important as your compo, same 30 marks each. And the number of words, yes, is a little bit lower, the requirements lower than compo, but still, you will be expected to write at least a good more than 300 over words in order to please your school examiners generally. Yeah, so it is a tough transition, I would feel, especially for weaker students who are not quite used to a lot of writing. Yeah. So that could be a more challenging aspect, I would say, probably for maybe English and literature-based subjects. Yeah.
So, Suen, did you actually feel this? And I'll throw you something even harder, actually. On top of this difficult thing, is there something positive for you that comes out of this whole 4 to 10 subject thing?
Well, for me, okay, because my primary school, they told us that we would be having literature in secondary school. So after PSLE, right, the school had nothing to do. And then my English teacher just told us, let me just throw you some literature stuff that they may expose you in secondary school. And then we were like, oh, why? We just finished PSLE and now you're throwing us with secondary 1 content. And then he told us, it will be good for you. You'll appreciate me when you enter secondary 1, which, okay, eventually I did, because the notes that he gave us, I did use them when I entered secondary 1. So initially it was really tough, like what Miss Ho said, from having 4 subjects to maybe 7, 8 subjects in one semester, right? So I would say that time management is something that I really, really had to adjust myself with, because in primary school I can just, play a while, relax, and then just go back to studying. But when you enter secondary school, it's a whole different ball game altogether. When I received my homework for one day, I initially I would think, oh, you know what, it's fine. I can just relax for maybe 2-3 days. And after 2-3 days, there were more workload piled up. And that's when I realized, okay, yeah, I really need to have my time management down. Yeah. So one good thing that came out of it was my time management. It improved drastically.
Right.
Yeah.
Juniors, do you think, have you ever, Lynn and Sean, was this aspect something that you need to monitor?
Yeah, we do coach them during primary school. Of course, we language is the biggest challenge, so we're very fortunate to have Kino to assist us in that. Because I think what we learned during our time for language is not possible to apply at this moment. That's why I'm glad we have people to help us. I'm not trying to sell for you, but really I'm fortunate to have you help us pull through that period. But for me as a parent, I think going secondary school is to see for each child what would be their strength in each subject, you see. Because some will be good in humanities and all those subjects, some will be good in those kind of maths, all those things. So it's good to know what are the areas they need help. Yeah, then how you can encourage them along the way. Yeah, that's my concern. Yeah, I learned to that.
Right. So actually, I was just wondering also for juniors, when they first transited into secondary school, did you have any kind of expectations for both of them, for Lynn and Sean? Were there any expectations at all? Like you have to do something.
As a parents, we hope they'll go through the same secondary school as me. But unfortunately, sometimes having that achieve. But it's okay. Then you just lower your standard a bit and never mind, right? And then I don't think I have any expectations. Just hope they'll have a wonderful whole 4 years, which I'm glad both of them do. Because that's going to bring back a lot of wonderful memories for them. I'm still in touch with my school friends. Until now, I'm 50 plus, I'm still in touch with all my secondary school friends.
My dad told me the same thing. He says secondary school is the best time of your life.
Yes, actually.
Don't cloud them totally with academics, you see. So, yeah, so when you're happy, you will study well, right? So, I don't really have much expectation. I'm more concerned about the growing up part. That's why later on you need me to share how do I prepare myself as they transit towards adulthood or adolescent period. That's really challenging. Kids all are different. Yeah, so academic wise, we just go along the way how to help them and look for external mentors if we need right? Yeah, that's my advice. Okay.
Sure. Suen, how about for your family actually?
My mom didn't really set much expectations regarding academic wise, because she told me secondary 1, secondary 2, we would have a lot of content, a lot of other subjects to handle, right? And then when it comes to art and music, if you fail, she'll just tell me, oh, it's okay, it's fine. Yeah, and then I think for those subjects that I was weaker at or poorer at, right, she didn't really scold me and say, oh, you need to do very well in this subject. She knew I had my strength, I had my weaknesses. So then when I entered Sec 3, where I had to choose my subject combination, right, she just told me, just go with whatever you feel that you are confident and stronger at. You don't have to just choose a subject that I would want for you. So I didn't really have much of trouble.
Right. Thank you for that. Okay, so there's this one particular question that was asked that I found to be insightful, but honestly, if we could actually give an answer. So this parent actually asked us, what questions should a parent ask their form teacher or their teacher during their first ever PTA? That would really be that will really help them to get a better grasp of what their child is actually going through in school. Because I think how the parent actually came across this question was that he or she when they go to the PTA, it's always just to them it's like a one-way download. The teacher will just share with them how their children is like and things like that. And they might ask certain questions about certain things. But at the back of their mind, I think they're thinking, are there specific questions that they should ask to really get the most out of the session, Ms. Ho?
I suppose it depends on what you want to find out, right? If you're very worried about academics, then perhaps you will want to ask more questions pertaining to, in fact, the subject that you're concerned with. But the thing about PTA is sometimes you don't get to meet the subject teachers, right? You only meet the form teacher who may or may not be teaching that specific subject you want to ask some questions about. So I would say if you're worried about academic side, then it's better if you are able to maybe ask the form teacher to link you up with the right subject teacher. Because then that subject teacher can give you better feedback. Otherwise, the form teacher sometimes will just say, I think he's quite weak in but may not be so constructive, not very specific probably. So that's for academic issues, probably need to really go to the right teacher first. And then from there, right, when you reach the right teacher, I think you'll probably want to ask, maybe what are some of the areas that they're weak in? I would say that the best thing to do is to look at the recent exam paper. Probably you take a look at it, and while discussing with the teacher has a set of the exam paper too, then it will be a really fruitful session. The teacher can tell you that, hey, this part is his weakness. So probably we need to address this by doing having certain steps. So I think that's the most effective way if you're thinking of asking or improving the academic side. But then, of course, there are so many other aspects of your child's life, right, that you can also ask the form teacher, because the form teacher generally has a bit more contact with them, So, and in fact, the form teacher may also be teaching a major subject for that class. So she probably spends quite a bit of time with your child. So there you can probably ask other aspects of your kid. Things like, so does he speak up in class? Or is he a team player? What do you observe about my child? Are there some advice you can give him? So these are probably some possible questions you want to ask if you're not just looking at the academic side.
How about juniors? Like, any secret tips for parent-teacher meetings?
I guess we usually will go PTA, like what Ms. Ho say, we'll just ask about the subjects. But unless you're coaching your own child, if not, whatever they tell you, I'm not sure you know how to apply those tips that they give to you. But I guess, okay, maybe for parents who, I would say, my son has some attention deficit, which I think it's important for parents to understand your child learning difficulties. If you discover that, how come as years progress, the subjects get more complicated and he's struggling, they're bound to be a reason. So that's why also in my son, that's why we discover he has some attention deficit. That's why we will come in for some kind of interventions. Of course, that's why we go to school, ask teacher, is that possible for you put him right in front of the class? Okay, because teacher always says he's a good boy because he always look in front and look at teacher, but his mind is just somewhere else, right? I think it's realized. So sometimes it's good to acknowledge, but you outgrow that. You just got to give them time to adapt. Don't label them. So so usually I'll ask about managing those aspects lah. And they'll have a buddy system to alert him to pay attention, all those kind of things. As for subject-wise, mostly we'll just share and go back. We just don't know how to apply.
Right. I guess that's true as well.
If you're not coaching, you tell us. We also won't know what to do. But every year PTA is different because sometimes during secondary school it's important where you have streaming. So that's where you got to talk to the teacher more to understand what will be their strength, what subjects to choose, right? Yeah, so maybe Sec 3, Sec 4 time will be what are the things they'll be interested going forward, what will we be interested to study, right? And what are the subjects will be important for them, all those kind of things. Yeah, so that's what I usually ask.
All right. So thank you for all your responses so far. I think to me, at least, I find it's quite fruitful. At least to hear all the different perspectives and things like that. So if it's okay, I just like a quick commercial break. Actually, not even commercial break, just a quick break, because I actually want to know a little bit more of our audience tonight. I realize some of the audiences have been putting in some of the Q&A questions and typing some of the chats, but I was hoping to get a little bit more. So audiences, if you guys are here, I just launched a quick poll. I just want to know how you guys actually got to know about this particular webinar, right? So, I mean, we have actually shown this to our current existing customers. So if you're actually from our newsletters, parents from our newsletter, have you seen some of our ads recently from Facebook or YouTube or Instagram or from friends? Yeah, just let us know you a little bit better. Okay. Okay, I realize only the panelists can see the poll, right? The audiences cannot see it. Okay, so I think mostly current parents with us and or from the email newsletters. Okay, so once again, I just want to reiterate, if you guys have any questions or anything you want to ask, just feel free to put in the Q&A segment, Q&A section, or put it in the chat. All right, so I think at this point in time, we can probably answer some of the questions in Q&A. So I think Sylvie actually asked, can I know what are the major changes in secondary school system, changes in the secondary school system compared to the older system? So I'm assuming what you're saying is that how has secondary school education changed over time, right?
I also have the same question, because this period is a transition period towards the subject banding, right? Do they call it subject banding now? Because in 2024, there will not be normal and normal acad, normal tech, right? So, but this is a transition period where the schools are preparing themselves for that period also, right? Not really a true subject banding, but it's a transition. Certain subject will be right towards that banding, certain subject not, right? Yeah. So I guess most of the parents here would be very much trying to understand what would be that difference. Yeah. And if I don't want to be worrying now also. Okay. Yeah.
So do we know?
Well, because this current batch of P6s, they are the first batch, right? Who are going for this AL1 to this AL system. Yeah, so in a sense, they are the very first batch. So in order to really know, we in fact can only find out when this batch goes through that whole system. So in a sense, they are the guinea pigs, in a way. They're going to be the first batch to show us what's going to happen.
Okay, help a bit. I've been also trying to find out, because I'm in the parent support group for our concept, my son's school, and then so I'll be having an open house talk for them also. Also trying to find for them what would that be. Also trying to ask from teacher. I guess they will be, of course, their parents will be concerned, because they'll be going through to set one with a mix of certain percent from normal acad, normal tech. Although in the near future, such labeling will not be there, which I'm very happy about it.
Yeah.
The society label them, which is bad. Okay. So in the future, they will take subjects based on what they are good at. Right? There'll be subject banding for English ABC, Maths ABC, or those kind of things. But this creates a lot of logistic issue for the school, because the student no longer stay together in a class. Right? They have to move around to this class for that subject. So parents also have concern how they pay attention moving around. Because moving around could be good because it keeps them awake and sit there whole day. So, and they also prepare them for future JC or poly, where you'll be moving around for your classes also, right?
Yep.
So I'm there to help the school also to, but yeah, so in this transition period, I guess they can't be full subject bending at this moment. So I guess only the school will be able to advise you during open house. Ask them how are they doing this transition subject bending. They're not full subject bending until 2024, if I'm not wrong, right? So the school is trying to prepare themselves in their logistic manner. How do they manage all their logistics in terms of all this? So maybe just subject bending for a few subjects and the rest are together. So these are things that they are going through. But one thing for sure, they'll be getting some IT stuff, right? Yeah, all of them be having some iPad or whatever. Yeah, since the last year, that batch of students. So there are a lot of e-learning in preparation of this COVID, etc. So it's really a big change for them. And don't worry, there'll be locks on these tablets also, whatever, to prevent them from using for other purpose. The school have that kind of lock as well. Yeah. So maybe to prepare yourself, maybe there could be more e-learning. How do you provide that environment for your kids, right? For conducive for that e-learning. Yeah, that would be a bigger concern also, right? I don't know, it's up to every family, is different. Should they be outside in the living room or in a room where they could bear their own mobile phone or whatever? You have to manage your own sessions. There could be more of such online in the near future, nobody knows, right? Besides subject bending, there could be also COVID situation, there'll be more online learning. Nobody knows, things are so volatile now, right? Yeah, so we have to be very adaptable to what's happening. Yeah, that's all I can share about subject bending. I hope if I know more, I'll share with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a transition period. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Junius. 没有选错人对吗 ？Solid one, solid one. Okay. Well, there's actually there's this one question. I mean, of course, we all understand that the whole transition from primary school to secondary school is it's always going to be a very much focus on the academic portions, but there are also concerns from parents that as children hit 12, 13, 14, etc. It's puberty. Everyone goes through this, and like it or not, there will be some physical changes and things like that for the child. And one parent really wants to know, actually, from the student point of view. So hence when you had this particular transition from primary to secondary school, was there any change between the way you communicated with your parents, because since you spend so much more time in school now, right, and you naturally will spend lesser time with your parents, with your family. So were there any changes in the relationship between your parents and yourself, and if so, what do you guys do?
There's definitely changes in the way we interacted and communicated with each other. So when I was in primary school, I remember hanging out with my parents almost every day, going out to eat dinner, supper, enjoying my time. But when I entered secondary school, I keep telling them, I'm so sorry, I don't have time to go out with all that. This was before COVID, by the way. I don't have time to go out, to hang out with them if they were to go to, let's say, maybe the zoo, bird park, just some family time. And then I would tell them, okay, maybe I would arrange a certain day. I would tell my friends, don't contact me, don't make me do any assignments, just nothing. I want to spend time with my family. So I guess I give myself time to spend my family time with my mom and dad. And then I also had to tell my friends that, you can go spend your own family time with your own family, because your entire 4 years in secondary school, you feel like your family are really you feel like your friends are really your family, because some of them, you just come over sometimes and they'll say like, oh, hi auntie, hi uncle. And your parents are just used to them coming over, that they may treat my friend as their own kid sometimes. So you really have this bond forged with family and friends, and it all depends on how you would bring them closer together. I know some of my friends who didn't really have much family time as compared to me. So then I would tell them, okay, maybe, you know, you can hang out with other groups of friends who don't spend as much time with their family as well. So it's just, you really have to manage your time well in secondary school. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, it was not the answer I expected, because it was definitely not how I did it when I was in secondary school. Oh no, but I wanted to hear, you know, your perspectives. And on that same breath, I was hoping to get Junius's input as well, because I'm very sure Sean and Lin are very different.
I'm begging for family time. So I always tell people during my era where we don't have internet, so everything we learn from parents, right? So parents really got to learn to adapt, because nowadays they have sources of information from everywhere, from friends, from internet, everything. So many times the way we're being brought up, we always think we're right. But nowadays you got to really treat them like a friend and hear from both sides. At times you just have to let them fail, okay? And then let them try out how is it gonna be. Also, there's a lot of relearning to be done, seriously. For my both kids, I mean, I've been a parent support group for Lin 4 years. That was 8 years ago. I think they're 4 years apart. And then even for also 4 years. So during that period, I think I got to know a lot of parents that we bond together. We know we are not alone on this journey. We are same headache when it comes to boys and girls. Girls are coy, seriously. Boys are different, just waiting for them to mature, okay, for their brain to develop. And then they are cute also, they're one that makes you laugh the most and cry the most anyway. So well, beginning of every year there'll be a transition to Sec 1, so try to attend those workshops. Every school will organize one, so parents do attend there. Many times we thought we'll know how to be parents. You're wrong, because yeah, they are all sorts of kids
Times
out
have
there.
changed.
No kids is the same. No kids are the same. So you just have to really learn to adapt and change yourself. Always have that pause button, which sometimes I forgot to press. Or the pause button, press, and then you hold for a while, let all the hot air release, then you release that pause button. Okay, that pause button is very important. So, but sometimes arguments is a form of communication. So I've been, Sean has trained me a lot, and we really come a long way. Yeah, we really come a long way. And I'm glad we have. And when I look for, I mean, I'm not studying for keynotes again. So, and when I look for tutors, I'm not just looking for teachers who guide them academically. I just want them to really advise my kids in their life journey also, right? Yeah, so like teacher Linus, he started all these global village, all these things. These are wonderful things that he shared with the kids, right? So people who could inspire my kids as well, right? So you may need mentors from schools, mentors from external, right? Because at times you just need a lot of people to help you. It takes a whole village to help you grow your kids as well.
Yeah.
So kids will come to you when they make mistakes. So just to wait, let them learn the hard way, right? Because they no longer listen to us once they reach a certain age. Okay, so Sec 1, very important. They still listen to you. So when you're in those family bonding activities that school, just attend them. After that, you won't get them joining you during Sec 3, Sec 4. Okay. So yeah, cohorts of parent support groups are really very small, which we are always encouraging. So our motivation is actually just want to promote parent and child bonding. Yeah, that's where we see that happiness in that. Yeah. And also learn from each other what to do, what not to do. And there'll be workshops and at that age, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to at that age they're trying to be independent, and yet at times they are not mature enough to be independent yet. So you really need to know what you can let them be independent and what you cannot, you see.
Right.
So if you attend workshops, they'll say, okay, maybe get them wash their dishes, right? Wash your own dishes, right? It's a good start, right? You don't have to wash, right? Wash your own dishes, right? And then start learning to cook with them, because there'll be subjects like food and nutrition, all those FC.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I even organize cook in school with family bonding activities, which is rather fun. All this, but doing everything for my son these 2 years. So try to participate in such activities when the school organize them, attend workshop, because really we at first we thought we could be we know how to be parents, but seriously, after going through that process, sometimes I do regret things that I shouldn't have said or shared. But past is past. All these part and parcel of learning, but you just want to hope it doesn't happen to other families, and share all your what you have gone through those workshops. Yeah. Okay, that's one. Just want to share. I'm glad it's like 4 already. Adult learning.
Congratulations.
Finally over.
So take the academic aside, is he or she still a good kid? He is a good kid. Many times we argue over academic matters. You put the academic matters apart, you can just put it aside, you can see that's a good child. Understand? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
first and foremost, a good person before we do anything else. Right.
Yeah.
All right. So being mindful of the time, so I'm just trying to clear as many questions that people have submitted. Okay. So so back to academics. Okay. So I saw this one from Ms. Ho. So this is a comparative question. Well, personally, in my opinion, I don't think it's healthy to really compare between the students, because they're all different. Now they all progress at different stages, all progress at different paces and things like that. But this question I think pertains very specifically to Ms. Ho. And the question the parent asks is that now, what do you think differentiates those that tend to excel at the secondary school level immediately compared to those who take a longer time to try and transition into secondary school? Because I think he or she might have some experience, comparing. Some kids seem to hit the ground running, straight away in secondary school, while others take a bit more time to ease into it.
Yeah, actually over the years, in terms of academics, right? This question is how they excel academically is or.
So yeah, so I guess perhaps the question is more like what are there differences in preparation, or is it just inherent? Like when they reach Sec 1, then straight away chong already, or A1s, or or some just take a little bit more time to really get used to this.
Okay. So maybe more in terms of the academic side first. Okay, so if that's the case, maybe I would think I can only speak for English because I'm really not too sure about math and science. But for English, generally, because I've seen so many PSLE kids coming up to secondary school, I have to say that if your child scores, say, in the past it was like A star, A, B. If your child scores A star for English, then there is a high chance, in fact, quite a high chance for them to hit distinction in secondary school immediately. A lot of kids who are doing A is actually quite a huge band in the past, right? A encompasses today's AL2, AL3, and AL4. So it's a huge band now. So I would say that if your child is actually AL4, let's say, that means the lower A's in the past, generally it is a kind of struggle. That means even if you hit A in PSLE, you hit AL4, you will not automatically, it does not automatically translate into a distinction for English in secondary school because the demands are actually much higher. Just imagine, there's no MCQ. So even if they want to do simple stuff, there's only that 10 grammar editing questions. Those are the easier questions, to tackle. Other than that, everything is open-ended. And everything is compo writing, right? It's a long piece of writing. So for students who hit, I think, AL4, it might be tough. So anything below AL4, you will see a struggle. You will see your kid drop by maybe 1 or 2 grades. It's actually very common. Yeah, it's so common that when you see it, you just tell me, I remember there was this Miss Ho somewhere who told me this. Yes, I can guarantee you, if you are hitting AL4 and below, you will generally see that they cannot maintain the A in secondary school, because the distinction rate actually for English in the O-levels is one of the lowest out of all the subjects. Actually, I don't know whether I don't think many of you will know this, because I used to be an MOE teacher, so they released the figures for us, and you will see that out of the entire Singapore cohort, everyone who takes O-levels, okay, guess, I would say A Maths, E Maths, the pure sciences, they are the highest distinction rate in the entire island. Anybody wants to guess? Can you type in the chat? What is the percentage of Singaporean students scoring distinction for these 4 subjects? They're quite around the same figure year in, year out. Anybody wants to make a guess? Can you type in the chat? What's the percentage of Sec 4 O-level kids, who hit distinction for A Math, E Math, pure sciences? That means your pure chem, pure physics, pure bio. Anybody wants to make a guess? What is the percentage of children who can hit distinction? That means the whole Singapore, not just your school, but in the whole Singapore. Anybody wants to make a guess? Yeah. Guesses the percentage? Oh, wow. Some of you guess, Sylvie guess, juniors think maybe 90, so high. Okay, 30 from Sylvie. And Ainsley is guessing 75% there. Yeah, okay. Nobody hit the right figure yet. Any more guesses? Well. Okay, Anthony thinks about 70. For these 4 subjects, year in, year out, half of Singapore hits distinction. The figure is always bordering around 45 to 55%. It's always around half the island. So can you imagine that? Half of Singapore, hits distinction, which is A1, A2 for these main, very math and science subjects. Yeah. But do you want to guess what is the percentage of students who hit distinction for English every year? It's definitely lower, I can tell you. So, sorry, yeah?
15, 15.
Okay, so is guessing maybe 15. Is it Regina? Regina says 10, 12. Okay, yeah, thereabouts. In fact, it ranges from around, say, 18% to, say, 24%, which means usually less than a quarter of Singapore hits distinction for English. So it's a very difficult subject to hit distinction. Yeah, the statistics don't lie, right? Year in, year out is like that. Our kids are very strong in math and sciences because we can drill them. To a certain degree, these subjects are more possible in terms of drilling. And so English is a little bit trickier. Yeah, so which is why the percentage never quite hits anywhere more than a quarter of the island. So I would say this is one of the subjects that has to be prepared really way ahead. Way ahead means I would think that if I were a parent, I would have sent my kids really early on for English help. It doesn't have to be tuition per se. They could go for drama classes. They can do singing, classes. It just it's like they learn language in authentic contexts since a very young age. Yeah. So when sometimes they meet me in upper sec, I look at the kid, I'm like, oh, poor kid. Another one who's very late in the game.
I'm guilty.
I met Sue-Ann when she was in Sec 3, right? Was it Sec 3 or Sec 4?
Yeah, Sec 3.
Yes. Yeah, so it's a struggle. It's really a struggle. So to them, they have missed a lot of golden years of language learning, because I think maybe you guys know, if you check out all these experts who tell you when is the golden period for language learning, it's not in their teens, it's very much in those single-digit years. Yeah, so it's like they really hope that you guys can send them for some, speech and drama lessons or some fun class. It doesn't necessarily have to be.
I've been there. I sent my both kids on the way TV program.
Lynn definitely benefited. I would say Lynn definitely benefited.
So sometimes it's a matter of a boy and a girl. It's their DNA also, right? and the programs that they watch on TV as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so well, I guess but I still feel English is important because that's where we as parents we can't help them, but we do look for help in this area because the English is in every subjects in the subjects like history and social studies and it's everywhere. So day one we knew that's the foundation. That's why we always emphasize on that. I'm not doing well in language also. That's why I put 90%. I'm those who done well in maths and science. Yeah. So language is really important. Yep.
So okay, I think it's very nicely come to nearing the end, I suppose, of this particular dialogue. So before we end off though, I was hoping that each one of you could possibly give our parents here online, not only in the Zoom, we are also live on Facebook, so there are also audience members on Facebook. Any one single advice, if they don't remember anything else from this particular dialogue, what would be one thing that you really hope the parents can bring home tonight? From each of your perspectives, as an educator, as a parent, and as a student.
Wow. So many things I'm not sure.
Okay. Then I give you advice, juniors. Your tip should be just watch the YouTube video that we're gonna upload. We watch this.
So I guess you see, I have met many parents and their child. So some really their kids are really good in language and they're really good for JC. We're JC, and then after JC is easier to go U. But they just choose to go LaSalle. The parents still support them, you see. And for Lynn, her language is strong. I know she's a JC student, but she still want to go poly. So she's having a fun time in poly and graduated doing a mass comm now. So I guess most important is listen to what the kids. It's good they know what they want when they're young, and then they know what the subjects they need, and they work hard for that. I think kids nowadays need to know how to reach where they want. First, they need to know where they want to go. You can get that, that's good. For example, someone wants to be a vet since young. Okay, you got to prepare yourself, pure bio, whatever, right? You must let them know that you got to prepare for that. So it's once to know what they want. So I'm glad Sean knows what he wants. And opportunity there is in ITE, poly, both are available. So I'm so happy for him as well. Whichever way, both has gaming for him. I'm fine with both also. Right, so most important, hear them out. You can hear them early what they want to go. They'll be easy for you. Then you can work with school advice and what the subjects needed. Yeah, if not, during Sec 3, Sec 4, there'll be career talk also from school also. Okay, try to make the effort to assist them to discover early. Don't wait till Sec 4 that don't know what subject next, where to go, right? Okay, that's my advice. I'm glad my both kids, they know where they want to go. Yeah, that's my calculation. Academic wise, I leave it to people to help, and school also. Thank you. Yeah.
For me, okay, since I graduated like 3 years ago, right? I guess one advice would be just let your child do whatever he or she wants, because in secondary school you would have a lot. When I say a lot, I really mean a lot of opportunities to let your child experience, planning for events or just taking up leadership roles, doing small little things, maybe even just planning for volunteer service for the class. Like these small little things can really help your child boost their confidence, because for me, after trying to plan a few events from my school, because I was a student counselor, right? So I had a lot of opportunities to plan for camps and events in school. It really helped me boost my confidence and being able to speak in front of a lot of people, because back in primary school, I know I was a bit timid, a bit shy, and my secondary school experience really helped me to push me into a better person that I am. So just let your child experience whatever he or she wants to do. That would be my advice. Thank you.
Yeah. I would think as a parent, for now, because you will know your child really well, yeah, so you want to, I think, as a parent, we want to probably provide them with the help that they need. Yeah, be it academically or in other aspects of their life. I think we want to really give them the right support. The environment is there. They find you approachable enough to come talk. They won't be like, my mom doesn't listen. What if I tell her? Yeah. So I think that's a very important thing, because you will start to realize that in secondary school, they will be quite. In fact, many are addicted to the gadgets, right? They cannot let go of their gadget. Well, that one is like their most important thing in their lives. Yeah. So with that, I would think they really do need you around as kind of input, reminder, and yet not just a source of nagging, but a source of understanding and kind of like learning how to perhaps manage the time better, manage their screen time better. I think this is something that all parents tell me nowadays. Oh, he's spending so much time on his phone all day long. So this is something that you will definitely come to experience. So you will want to kind of think about how you can help your child through this gadget transition. They will start to definitely use a lot more gadget, and it will come to a point where you can't not give him a phone. Yeah, he will say, "Oh, my friends have phone. I have to use my phone to do this, do that." No, you're still not giving me a phone. I'm like, I cannot even WhatsApp. My teacher is sending something in WhatsApp chat. I don't know. So yeah, so it is it becomes a must in a sense to give him the phone. So you definitely want to pre-plan. How do you want to negotiate screen time with your child? Yeah, I think that's a skill that as a parent, I think is
You negotiate when you at the beginning of signing the contract when you buy the phone. Yeah, really. It's a happy time. Write it down during the beginning when you sign. Agree. Sign to that.
Contractually,
how many hours?
Yeah, work it out. Mine too late already. I'll work it out during that contract period when you're gonna get the phone. You can't escape from that. Definitely.
Yes.
But during the happy moment where they're gonna get their phone, they'll sign anything.
Yeah. So I think this is something you will definitely have to go through. Yeah, when your kids go to Sec 1. So you might want to kind of prepare yourself. How would I answer my kid if they're asking for the phone all day long? Am I willing to make the concession of giving them the phone 24 hours a day? Or do you want to start slow? So this is something that you want to negotiate also with your child, I think, because he will have his own ideas, and you want to kind of come in and kind of mitigate this. Yeah, so I think this is an important skill as a parent that we need to pick up. Otherwise, I see a lot of unhappy children and unhappy parents because of this. I think it will strain your relationship. It is a difficult period of time already academically, and then on top of that, you have this relationship strain. It really makes the secondary school life very tough. Yeah, so certainly I think you want to think through this and kind of discuss with your child. Yeah, so hopefully of course you come up with something that both of you are satisfied with, a satisfactory deal, and then you sign your contract like what Junior said. Yeah, so I would say give them the help that they need, and then learn to treat your child as a older person now, kind of like a very young adult, right? He has his own thinking, you can't quite force everything down his throat anymore. So there's a lot more discussion, I would think, compared to primary school days. I think if you become really a master of discussing and negotiating with your child, you will find that these 4 years, is very manageable, and it might be quite a happy time for both of you too. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think tonight, I think definitely we've learned at least for me, we've learned quite a bit from all three perspectives, from Ms. Ho, from juniors, and from Suen. So I hope you join me, all the audiences that are around, to thank the three of them for sharing all their wonderful inputs with us tonight. So a quick plug for our newsletter before we leave. So because Keynote Learning actually releases newsletters every week, so we would really like to know a little bit more as to the kind of content that you would like to see. So please do us a favor and just click on the quick survey right now, if it's possible. I believe you can click on more than one as well. So, if you're really interested in parenting tips together with, more video content or improving specific sections on your subjects, we can click on both as well. All right. So other than that, once again, thank you very much, Ms. Ho, juniors, and Suen. I think your thoughts and your stories are invaluable tonight for all the parents and students that are joining us both on Zoom and on Facebook Live. So thank you very much.